Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back in with this month's update on all the physical releases coming to the PlayStation and Xbox consoles. This video was researched, written, and edited by my man Tim. Everything is by him except this voice. This voice is mine. He can't take that from me. This month is absolutely massive, so let's jump in and see what we've got. Scarlet Salvation is releasing on the 2nd of September for Xbox, having previously released for PlayStation 5, so just a quick one as we've already covered the title. The divisive and middling departure for Compile Heart, Scarlet Salvation is high-concept punishing and undeniably anime, but ultimately held back by design that demands endurance over flair. Xbox physicals have been seeing some crazy prices lately with their small runs, so if you're after a niche physical Xbox collection, I doubt they printed many of these. Personally, having played the PlayStation 5 version, the game is so incredibly boring. Hell Is Us is releasing on the 4th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe, a bleak action adventure from Rogue Factor set in a war-torn land of supernatural corruption. The demo was released last month and to fairly decent acclaim. There was some disappointment, perhaps unfairly, due to having picked up the Souls-like tag online, which the developers have never claimed, so perhaps not a title if you're expecting to rest beside a bonfire. Exploration is deliberately stripped of waypoints and markers, leaving you to navigate by landmarks, dialogue, and guesswork. Combat leans on swords, axes, and spears with a handy drone to even the odds. One to watch, albeit in an overcrowded genre. Everybody's Golf Hotshots is releasing on the 4th of September for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Europe, Japan, and Asia. Sony's long-running golf series returns in a roundabout way though, since this was previously a PlayStation exclusive. Sadly, this entry isn't from Clap Hands, which seems criminal, but rather Hyde are handling the reboot of the franchise. Not the greatest buzz on this one, hopefully the usual mix of light-hearted avatars, arcade-friendly swings, and a good tune shines through. There are far too many potential golf puns to make here, but I will abstain. Instead, I'll be crossing my fingers on this one, but also keeping my expectations in check. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion is releasing on the 5th of September for Xbox, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch 2 worldwide. Marvelous's Mech Battler is back, this time with a subtitle that sounds like a prog rock album. Titanic Scion continues where the first game left off, delivering more airborne firefights, oversized arsenals, and a good old-fashioned anime melodrama. First Studio returned to development duties, promising a larger scale war and new customization options for your arsenals. It's all very slick, colorful, and loud, though whether the Titanic bit points to grandeur or just bigger explosions is anyone's guess. Either way, it's another opportunity to roleplay as giant flying mech pilots, and that's never anything to complain about. You love to see it. And my executive producer, D's Nuts, has chosen this as his pick of the month. And if you want to purchase any of the games in this video, then please do so via the links in the description and pinned comment. Any purchase made massively helps support me, this series, and Tim in the best way possible. VGP are a great company with free worldwide shipping on orders over 75 Canadian bucks, which is like 54 American dollars. Really not that much at all. And they're a great company, and so everyone's a winner. Anyways, what else have we got this month? Cronos: The New Dawn is releasing on the 5th of September for PlayStation 5 in Europe. North American copies will be releasing later in the month on the 19th. Bloober Team's latest survival horror swaps the endless fog for apocalyptic 1980s Poland, where you play as the Traveler, a ghost in a diving suit figure tasked with harvesting souls and burning bodies before the local horrors, known as orphans, fuse into nastier abominations. Resource scarcity, deliberate combat, and a constant push-pull between timelines set the tone, leaning more into Dead Space than Silent Hill, with a splash of retro sci-fi paranoia. In short, a grim survival experience that is a bigger test for the studio now that so many new eyes are upon it. NBA 2K26 is releasing on the 5th of September for Xbox, PlayStation 5, and Switch worldwide. The latest entry in 2K's ever-profitable basketball empire, promising refinements on the court and plenty of predatory microtransactions to boot. Expect the usual annual polish, a few new animations, some tinkering with the shooting mechanics, and menus such like that. I don't know a lot about the game, but research suggests that my career will once again blur the lines between sports drama and glorified advertisements, while my team's card packs ensure you'll be spending as much time thinking about microtransactions as you will about actual basketball. Still, for better or worse, it remains the undisputed digital face of the NBA, unless of course you prefer to dust off NBA Jam, which of course you do. Firefighting Simulator Ignite is releasing on the 9th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. Another month, another German work simulator, but this time with fire, so perhaps more exciting, at least until you realize it treats fire safety with the same solemnity that farming simulator gives detractors. A new edition of the surprisingly earnest firefighting sim where you'll wrestle with hoses, engines, and the occasional rogue physics bug while trying to keep virtual buildings from burning down. It aims for realism over arcade thrill, so less an episode of Fire Force and more akin to an informational health and safety video. Those hoping for Hollywood-scale fireballs may be disappointed, but if your idea of excitement is checking a hydrant coupling, then this one is a must-have. Kong Survivor Instinct is releasing on the 9th of September for PlayStation 5 in Europe. North America copies will be releasing later in the month on the 19th. Yet another stab at making King Kong relevant in video games, this time taking the surprising form of a 2D Metroidvania. Yes, instead of cinematic city smashing or wrestling Godzilla a la Rampage, you'll be exploring grey cityscapes, slowly unlocking abilities, and the usual backtracking. An odd fit for the license in an arguably overcrowded genre, and judging by reception so far, one hasn't exactly set Skull Island, or the wider world, on fire. Still, if you've been on the lookout for more giant monkeys in your game after Bonanza, then look no further, I guess. And my executive producer Robotech has chosen this as his pick of the month. Garfield Kart 2 All You Can Drift is releasing on the 10th of September for PlayStation 5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. The sequel to the famously memeable Garfield Kart, which became an ironic cult hit, this follow-up promises more tracks, more drifting, and presumably more ways to question how we got here. Allegedly a serious kart racer starring a cat who canonically hates Mondays. I feel lightning can't strike twice here with the memes, or 500,000 hours of playtime. But whether it's played earnestly or ironically, it will be interesting to see if it makes the rounds online all over again. Borderlands 4 is releasing on the 12th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 worldwide. Gearbox's looter shooter returns with the barely cel-shaded FPS, endless guns, and enough wisecracks to test anyone's patience. The series has always thrived on excess, and this fourth entry looks to be no exception. Bigger worlds, bigger shootouts, as over the years Gearbox's shine has very much faded. It's the kind of game where the plot is largely an excuse to funnel you between firefights and vending machines, but if you've been stockpiling mates for co-op nights and you have a taste for the absurdity, it's a reliable way to lose a few dozen hours. Just don't expect subtlety or witty humor. Borderlands dropped that somewhere around 2009, but my executive producers Thorn, Meta, Luna, and Rose have chosen this as their pick of the month. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is releasing on the 12th of September for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch worldwide. Developed by The Game Kitchen of blasphemous fame, Ragebound turns back the clock on the famously brutal series, sending it back to its side-scrolling roots. This time with a new protagonist, Kenji Mozu, and his uneasy ally, Kumori. Soulbound from the rival Black Spider clan, it's fast, flashy, and surprisingly forgiving by Ninja Gaiden standards, with tight platforming and combo-heavy combat, with plenty of clever traversal, flashy combos, and boss fights designed to make your thumbs sore. Reviews have been very positive, praising its slick retro style and combat depth, with only the short runtime being the main complaint. After years of reheated ports and remasters, seeing Ninja Gaiden return to form lately into something both fresh and genuinely fun is nothing less than joyous to see. NHL 26 is releasing on the 12th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. EA's annual Puck Fest rolls around once again, promising shinier ice, smarter AI, slightly, and a BA Pro mode that allegedly makes you feel like an NHLer. That is until you glance at the in-game store. Microtransactions remain an unmissable feature, so don't be surprised if your career ambitions hinge on how much you're willing to shell out for shiny new kits or cards. Still, on the ice, action is sharp, fast, and polished, giving fans of hockey their only real fix in terms of video gameness. EA can deliver, you just need deep pockets for it. Bratz Rhythm and Style is releasing on the 12th of September for Xbox, PS4, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A 20-year nostalgia trip for some, with the resurrection of the Bratz franchise with a rhythm-based fashion adventure, solo and up to 4-player co-op modes available, offers a blend of fashion, music and dance. The gameplay is very much tailored for a younger audience, but may also provide a nostalgic trip for fans from the early 2000s Bratz era. You know who you are. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars Reforged is releasing on the 18th of September on PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America. It's already available in Europe. Just a quick recap, but it is well worth mentioning, and I know it's one of my Wait, what? This is some meta writing, Tim. What's going on here? Yes, I do like Broken Sword. Thank you for remembering, Tim. Revolution Software's classic point-and-click adventure returns in a lavishly restored form. This reforged edition boasts 4K visuals, over 30,000 redrawn character sprites, and a remastered soundtrack, all while preserving the original's globe-trotting mystery and dry wit. It's a love letter to fans and a polished entry for newcomers. Class of Heroes 3 Remaster is releasing on the 18th of September for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. After a 15-year wait, it's finally going to get its Western debut. Previously only been available in Japan on the PSP. Now it arrives on the Switch and PlayStation 5 in fully remastered glory. There is a fair bit of buzz from dungeon RPG fans, especially after its failed attempts at localization in the past few years. It's considered one of the greats, and you can enroll in one of the 3 distinct schools, each offering a unique uniform, difficulty levels and storyline. The game features expansive 3D dungeons, a revamped character creation system with hundreds of combinations, and a new relationship system that enhances party dynamics. While the core gameplay remains faithful to the original, the remaster introduces improved visuals and additional content aiming to provide both nostalgia for longtime fans of the franchise and an accessible entry point for newcomers. Republic of Pirates is releasing on the 18th of September for PS5 in Europe. North Americans will have to wait until later in the month. Originally out on PC in 2024, Crazy Goat Games' City Builder trades spreadsheets for sales, letting you manage settlements, fleets, and the occasional naval scrap. It looks the part, though the pirate theme often feels like an Anno-style sim wearing a tricorn for flair. Reviews have been broadly positive, praising its laid-back pace and polish, even if it never quite musters a true Buccaneer swagger and comes across as a poor imitation. Wobbly Life is releasing on the 18th of September for Xbox, PlayStation 5 and Switch worldwide. Rubber Band Games' physics-powered sandbox finally emerges from early access and with a physical release. It's been a surprise smash with over 2 million copies sold and an overwhelmingly positive reception over on Steam, not to mention a #1 chart-topping debut on the German Switch eShop. A less cynical game for kids, it mixes odd jobs, wobbly physics, and slapstick co-op into a kind of a budget GTA for kids. The upcoming free-spaced expansion doubles its size with zero-gravity antics, proving that wobbling around aimlessly is apparently quite fun. Frostpunk 2 is releasing on the 18th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. 11-bit Studios' sequel to the 2018 Frozen survival hit expands the formula to an entire struggling city. The PC release was warmly received for its ambition and moral complexity, even if some players missed the intimate misery of the first game. It's now shuffling onto consoles with a revamped radial interface that has been refined to work seamlessly with thumbsticks. It's joining Xbox Game Pass from day one, so it may be worth a try before you buy if you have that, but it looks like a solid pickup and a game that doesn't seem to be about just survival in the cold, but it's about mastering politics, planning and keeping a frosty city intact, where you may find yourself genuinely torn between hope and hubris. And my executive producers, Danielle O and Dane Wilkinson, have chosen this as their pick of the month. Rainbow Six Siege Elite Edition is releasing on the 18th of September for Xbox and PS5 in both North America and Europe. Ubisoft's ever-expanding tactical shooter gets yet another boxed edition, this one bundling the base game with all 38 legacy operators unlocked from the start, I think. Siege itself is nearly a decade old at this point, but it still enjoys a loyal and often terrifyingly serious community. The Elite Edition is less of a fresh start than a handy shortcut for newcomers who'd rather skip the grind and get straight into the breaching, rappelling, and shouting at strangers with better aim. Folly of the Wizards is releasing on the 19th of September for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Europe. Up Fox Labs' upcoming comedic 2D roguelike casts you as an inept apprentice in a peculiar wizard cult. With hand-drawn art, branching choices, procedurally generated dungeons, and the option to befriend or antagonize fellow wizards, it aims for charm over polish. It's all very tongue-in-cheek, with enough quirky charm to make you question your wizarding choices every turn. Sengoku Dynasty is releasing on the 19th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in Europe. North Americans will have to wait until the end of the month. Super Kami's ambitious blend of survival, village building, and dynasty simulation set in feudal Japan finally arrives on consoles and now supporting co-op for up to 4 players. Player feedback remains mixed. The world is undeniably beautiful, and the quest to found a legacy is oddly soothing, but numerous reviews point out the grind, constant resource gathering, occasional technical hiccups, and fiddly UI that feels more like paperwork than promise. It arrives with lofty intentions and the visuals to match, even if sometimes it feels like you're making a fortune, is as much about micromanagement as meaningful drama. Trails in the Sky first chapter is releasing on the 19th of September for PlayStation 5 and Switch worldwide. Falcom's much-loved RPG finally makes its way back to consoles, offering players a proper starting point for the Trails saga. Originally released on PC in 2004, with the West not seeing it until Xseed's localization in 2011, first chapter is where Estelle and Joshua's story begins, mixing light-hearted adventuring with surprisingly weighty political intrigue. It's remembered less for flashy combat and more for its meticulous world building, towns full of characters with ever-evolving dialogue, a story that builds patiently rather than rushing, and enough text to rival the length of a small library. But this is not a remaster, not just a coat of polish, it's a full ground-up remake by Nihon Falcom, converting Liberal into a seamless, fully 3D world with revamped combat. The old-school turn-based system now shares the stage with real-time field action mode, allowing you to wail on enemies in real time, or segue neatly into command battle, turn-based combat when it suits you. I think remakes can always be contentious, especially for JRPG darlings such as this one, but it does seem like a lot of love and effort has gone into its creation, and I hope they find a new audience with this release. And my executive producers, Sora Cat, Dave Huswaite, Alexander Cato, G Bautista 100, Adamantium, and Feig have chosen this as their pick of the month. Tower and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree is releasing on the 19th of September for Xbox, PlayStation 5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. A new isometric roguelite where you team up with one of 8 quirky guardians as you guide a priestess through procedurally generated dungeons to fend off the god Magatsu. It's action heavy, has that lovely ink painting look, and teases a demand on juggling both characters' health, abilities, and positioning in what seems like a graceful Hades meets Tales. After each run, you return to Shinju Village, the hub world that evolves over time, where you forge and customize weapons via timing-based minigames, train at the dojo, and deepen bonds with villagers. It seems like Bandai Namco are putting a little money behind this one, and there does seem to be a bit of buzz about it. It might just be this month's sleeper hit. Gabby's Dollhouse Ready to Party is releasing on the 19th of September in both North America and Europe. Another one of those for the kids, not really for parents. Based on DreamWorks preschool series, it boasts over 40 bite-sized mini-games, costume customization, and local 2-player co-op that keeps things socially fun and parent-approved, so if your kid is into the series, it could be worth a pickup. Orcs Must Die Deathtrap is releasing on the 23rd of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. The latest sequel to the roguelike tower defense come third-person brawler, players defend the rift with a mix of trap spells and melee with 4-player co-op. Early physical editions come with a mini art book and digital extras, and early impressions are mixed, but there is positivity in that it's more streamlined than past entries. Nothing sensational, but maybe fun if you fancy a new tower defense sequel title. Silent Hill F is releasing on the 25th of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5 worldwide. A big release for many, Silent Hill's first new mainline entry for over a decade, and after the controversies of PT, and the positive reception of the remake for Silent Hill 2, this one is something to look forward to. Set in 1960s Japan, you play as Hinako Shimizu, a high school student navigating a surreal and nightmarish version of her hometown. The familiar slow burn horror is still here, but the combat has been apparently overhauled. Melee encounters are now deliberately brutal and cinematic, forcing players to think on their feet. There is a new faith system, letting Hinako manipulate the environment, bending the nightmare itself. There is also a new look to the series, now leaning heavily into traditional Japanese aesthetics, lending an eerie elegance to the ever-present dread. Neobards are shouldering a fair burden here. Their only prior original work was Resistance and Reverse. Hardly confidence-inspiring CV entries. Still, people said much the same about Bloober Team and their Silent Hill 2 remake, which has gone down better than expected. Credit where it's due, F is at least taking risks, steering away from the familiar, rather than reheating the old formula. This does not just look like Fatal Frame with a bigger budget as some have sniffed, there is definitely a distinct identity emerging. For a series left in limbo for over a decade, this isn't a tentative shuffle back onto the stage, it is a bold, sometimes divisive reinvention, and there's just enough here to tempt both veterans and curious newcomers back to the fog. And my executive producers, Instacritic, Radio to Rancid, Ishin, and Ghost Bune have chosen this as their pick of the month. Kemco RPG Selection Volume 2 is releasing on the 25th of September for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America. Kemco's latest Western release of their RPG anthology. Volume 2 brings 4 mid-tier RPGs as Divine Hearts 2, Revenant Dogma, Fern's Gate, and Alvastia Chronicles into one collection, offering turn-based combat, retro-inspired visuals, and character-driven stories. I'm surprised that we got a Western release of Volume 1, as I would have thought that most people who wanted a copy would have imported it from Japan or Asia already. Still, it's a tidy, budget-friendly package for fans of classic JRPGs looking for a substantial dose of nostalgia without breaking the bank, so maybe worth a look if you don't already own a copy. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is releasing on the 25th of September for Xbox, PS4, PS5. Another spin of the wheel for Sega's Blue Blur, this time with the gimmick being interdimensional tracks that mash up worlds from across the series. It's closer in spirit to Team Sonic Racing than All Stars Transformed, which is sad, with more of a focus on boosting, drifting, and chaotic item play than deep handling. Alongside the usual Sonic cast, Sega are throwing in a few curveballs like Hatsune Miku and Joker as guest drivers. Reception from previews suggests it's competent if not groundbreaking, the kind of racer that'll keep Sonic diehards busy, but honestly speaking, it's likely yet another Sonic spin-off doomed to live in Mario's shadow. Bring back All Stars Transform, that was amazing. Agatha Christie, Death on the Nile is releasing on the 25th of September for Xbox, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. The latest video game adaptation of Christie's classic mystery reimagines the tale, this time set in the 1970s. You alternate between playing as Hercule Poirot and the original character Jane Royce, each offering unique perspectives on the intertwined investigations. The game introduces a mind map system for deductions, a confrontation mechanic for interrogations, and a setting that shifts from London to Egypt. This modern take of a retro reimagining on a timeless tale offers a fresh experience for both fans of the original novel and newcomers to the story, but whether that fresh take will be appreciated, I'm not personally sure. Mamorokun Recurse is releasing on the 25th of September for PS5 and Switch in Europe and Japan. Limited run games are handling the North American release. One of G-Rev's more celebrated shmups, Mamorokun mixes its colourful cast and bright, almost sugary aesthetic with some decidedly cruel bullet patterns. Its signature curse mechanic, where hexing foes or yourself for tactical advantages, gives more depth than the average score chaser, and it has helped retain a loyal following since its debut in 2009. It's less a forgotten oddity than a cult classic, finally getting a proper home console release, and longtime shmup fans will be pleased to see it back in circulation. One to definitely check it out if you've not tried it before. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is releasing on the 26th of September for Xbox, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. More retro throwbacks now, this time with Game Mill, resurrecting the 1964 stop-motion film brought to life as a festive 3D platformer. Impossible to not get extremely cynical on this one, let's be honest. But yeah, you are on a quest to save Christmas. Explore locations like Christmas Town, the Island of Misfit Toys, and Bumble's Cave. Overcome challenges and collect festive items along the way. Maybe one for those that love to frequent Christmas shops in out-of-town shopping villages, but otherwise perfectly safe to avoid. Atelier Resleriana, the Red Alchemist and the White Guardian. I swear I will learn how to say Resleriana properly one time. Releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 in the West. Sadly, we are not getting the Switch version in English. Japan and Asia are getting that, but it's kind of complicated. If we're in the West, we're just talking about the PS5 release. Gust's long-running Alchemy series has been busily bubbling away since the late 90s, but now Resleriana marks a shift in formula. Originally launched as a gacha game in Japan, she is now making her full debut on consoles in a brand new release as a proper JRPG. The story promises a darker edge than the usual pastel potion mixing, though the focus on crafting, party management, and light-hearted character moments will remain intact. With its blend of old comforts and a bold new framework, Resleriana feels like Gust testing how the series can stretch out, especially now that Riser is over. For fans, it's a fascinating experiment, either a fresh chapter in a quietly enduring series or proof that sometimes you shouldn't mess with a recipe that already works. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. And my executive producers, Kaba Clavacol and the Nemo 6, have chosen this as their pick of the month. Teslagrad Power Pack is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 and Switch in Europe. Tesura Games bundles Teslagrad Remastered and Teslagrad 2 into one Power Pack, presumably so you can pay for two magnetic puzzle platformers at a much higher price. The remaster polishes the original Steampunk's tower puzzles, while the sequel introduces Lumina in a sprawling open world, both promising the same mix of brain-teasing frustration and twitchy platforming. This collector's edition comes with a metallic ink box, a golden notebook, a 3D pin, stickers, and a 2-disc soundtrack, because nothing says indie puzzle thrills quite like a drawer full of trinkets and tat. Still, if you ever fancied being reminded how much patience you have while jumping between magnetized platforms, then this is one for you. NBA Bounce is releasing on the 26th of September for Xbox, PS5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. Another year, another basketball spin-off, though this one trades the simulation polish of NBA 2K for a more arcade-flavored take. NBA Bounce leans into the over-the-top dunks and fast matches rather than meticulous stat tracking, which might come as a relief to anyone weary of virtual sponsorship deals and career mode bureaucracy. Whether it's a refreshing change of pace or just a dull cash-in will depend on how much charm it can squeeze out of its exaggerated style. Bendy and the Dark Revival is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. The inky horrors return with this follow-up to 2017's cult classic Bendy and the Ink Machine. Part stealth, part survival horror, it doubles down on the creepy cartoon aesthetic while smoothing out some of the rougher edges of its predecessor. Reviews on PC have been broadly positive, praising the atmosphere and world building, even if the gameplay isn't exactly reinventing the wheel. Into the Restless Ruins is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 in Europe, North America a few days later on the 30th. A roguelike deck builder, that tries to balance classic party building with a modern roguelike edge. Into the Restless Ruins has a fairly muted buzz ahead of its release. Early looks suggest plenty of labyrinths and loot, though it risks getting lost in a crowded genre unless its atmosphere and difficulty curve can really distinguish it. Still, for fans of procedural punishment, it might scratch a little bit of an itch. What Comes After is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5. A short narrative adventure about riding a train to the afterlife and chatting with spirits along the way. What Comes After is less of a game and more of a reflective vignette. It first appeared on PC and Switch a few years back, where it was praised for its heartfelt, if brief, look at mortality. The PS5 release won't add much beyond a shiny wrapper, but those who missed it, it's a gentle, melancholy trip that's worth an evening. EA Sports FC 26 is releasing on the 26th of September for Xbox, PS4, PS5, Switch, Switch 2, and I think the Neo Geo Pocket Color. The annual football juggernaut returns, swapping the FIFA name but keeping all the usual trappings. Detailed kits realistic crowds, a career mode, and predatory microtransactions remaining firmly in place, it has gameplay tweaks, a slightly faster pace, refined passing, etc. This is enough to keep fans entertained without reinventing the wheel. Predictable, polished, and still somehow unavoidable for anyone who even casually follows the sport, my executive producer God of Resin has chosen this as his pick of the month. Hotel Barcelona is releasing on the 26th of September for Xbox and PS5 in both North America and Europe. A new game from Suda51 and Swery, the minds behind Deadly Premonition and No More Heroes, comes Hotel Barcelona, a 2.5D action roguelite that promises a fever dream of horrors and humor. Players step into the shoes of Justine, a rookie US Marshal who finds herself trapped in a luxurious hotel that's a haven for America's most dangerous serial killers. With precision combat, a murderous alter ego, and co-op gameplay, it's a chaotic blend of grindhouse gore and surreal storytelling. I feel a little disappointed this is the result of those two minds, but I'm hoping I'm wrong and it will be better than expected. Whether it's a cult classic in the making or a wild misfire remains to be seen, but one thing is for sure, it'll probably be tonight at Premiere Inn. Pac Man World 2 Repack is releasing on the 26th of September for Xbox, PS5, Switch, and a Switch 2 Game Key clownery in both North America and Europe. The 2002 platformer gets a shiny new lease of life with updated visuals, smoother controls, and a few modern touches. The original was never more than middling, to be fair. Whew. Harsh words there, Tim. Harsh words. Gonna get some complaints about that one. It was competent but hardly revolutionary, so this remaster leans heavily on the nostalgia rather than innovation. Pac-Man zips through colorful levels, chomping pellets and evading ghosts. Cheerful as ever, proving that sometimes a tidy polish is enough to make a bland, right in the heart, a bland classic feel fun again. And my executive producer, Azrath, has chosen this as his pick of the month. Winter Games Collection plus Advent Calendar is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 and Switch, code in a box, in Europe. A cynical collection so thoroughly innovative with its forward-thinking Advent Calendar gimmick that promises daily surprises by unwrapping the same mediocre minigames you've seen a dozen times before. For anyone who enjoys the feeling of a depressing Christmas and the slow burn of disappointment wrapped in festive packaging, well this'll be for you. Remorse List is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 in North America, a stealth horror that promises tension and dread, though judging by impressions it leans more on uneven pacing than genuine scares. You'll be sneaking, hiding, and occasionally wondering if The List is more about poor design choices than anything sinister. But I'm being harsh. For a fan of indie horrors, there's intrigue to be found, but it does sound like patience will be required in equal measure. Project Nightmares Case 36, Henrietta Kedwood, is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 in North America. Is this some sort of weird Jedward knockoff? Because I won't stand for that. Anyways, another first-person indie horror, this episodic horror adventure drags you through a series of grim mysteries. Tension is built through dimly lit corridors and creaking doors, but expect a few head-scratching mechanics along the way. For aficionados of slow burn scares, there's enough here to keep you entertained, maybe. Puppet House is releasing on the 26th of September for PS5 in Europe. Okay, what's going on here? 3 in a row now. Puppet House is a horror puzzler that fancies itself sinister, though most of its scares are more mildly startled than genuinely chilling. You'll be manipulating dolls and solving contrived puzzles. Niche and quirky, judging by Steam reviews, it's best approached with lower expectations, but hey, if you fancy indie horror, there are a fair few this month. Sorry, We're Closed is releasing on the 30th of September for PS5 and Switch in North America. A true retro survival horror throwback, Sorry We Are Closed has drawn heavy comparisons to Silent Hill, with fixed perspectives, clunky atmosphere, demons lurking where normality used to be, but it's reimagined through a scrappy punk horror lens rather than a nostalgia cosplay. One minute you're creeping through gloomy streets, the next you're snapping into frantic FPS gunplay and then flicking your third eye to peel away the skin of the world. It's messy, raw, and very much its own beast, which is exactly why it's stuck with people since the PC launch, where it's become somewhat of an indie darling. But really, it's the mood, bleak, surreal, and oddly intimate atmosphere that makes this one feel like a proper new cult classic in the making. Centum is releasing on the 30th of September for PS5 and Switch in North America. Another horror-themed title, Certainly everyone's getting ready for October. It's a minimalist psychological thriller that locks you in a room with nothing but your thoughts and a growing sense of unease. That's how I live my daily life. What's wrong with that? Centum trades action for atmosphere. Dialogue choices shape the tension as you piece together what's going on, evoking the intimacy of an old-school adventure game with the creeping dread of a survival horror. The reviews are positive, but few suggest it's sparse, strange, unsettling, and my executive producer Josh Foote, he's chosen this as his pick of the month. Rick Henderson is releasing on the 30th of September for PS5 and Switch in North America, maybe. An endless shmup with roguelike elements, Rick Henderson is less about narrative and more about seeing how long you can loop for. Originally released for PC back in 2021, it has largely flown under the radar. A tough sell in a massively crowded genre with some incredible competition, but if you're more into like Amiga shooters than Danmaku, it'll certainly be worth a look for sure. And my executive producer Dave Horworth has chosen this as his pick of the month. Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is releasing on the 30th of September for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch worldwide. There's also a Game Key clownery for Switch 2 somewhere in the trash heap of life. It's taken 27 years and endless wishings, but Square Enix has finally decided that Final Fantasy Tactics deserves more than a PSP port gathering dust. The Ivalice Chronicles brings the original PS1 classic and its War of the Lions re-release under one roof. Kind of. It's got the new translation, but it's missing the content. However, it's a strategy RPG, a full HD makeover kind of, with a redone soundtrack, faster load times, and some modern quality of life tweaks. For many, this was the game that proved Square could do more than melodrama and crystals, weaving a tale of betrayal, politics, and the kind of moral ambiguity you don't usually get from a game where chocobos were involved. Don't diss the Boko. The job system still stands as one of the deepest in the genre, and the remaster promises to include new difficulty options to please every level of gamer. Of course, this being Square, there's always a chance they'll find a way to muck up the details, and there is some contention about the translation, which, Jordan interrupting here, I hate the War of the Lions translation. Back to Tim. But personally, I think people are looking for faults here. Shut up, Tim. And yes, there is always DuckStation if you just want to play the original PS1 version. I'm hopeful that Tactics could finally escape the realm of whispered cult classic and land back in the mainstream. For strategy fans, it's not just another remaster, it's a pilgrimage to one of the genre's highest points, and I do agree with that. And my executive producers, Big Bruno, Lewis K, Jeddah Crow, Vay, Jennifer M, and my man Tim, they've chosen this as their pick of the month. Nicktoons, The Dice of Destiny, is releasing on the 30th of September for Xbox, PS5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. Nickelodeon's latest venture into the action RPG genre brings together the usual crew of characters, SpongeBob, Katara, Leonardo, and others, reimagined in a fantasy-style hero setting thing. Given the track record of previous Nicktoons crossovers, this is likely another cash grab rather than a genuine attempt at innovation, but it could be fun if you're into the IPs. Lego Party is releasing on the 30th of September for Xbox, PS5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. The latest Lego minigame collection promises cooperative and colorful chaos. Another kids game, so can't be too critical. It's unlikely anyone over the age of 10 is the target audience here, but still bright, loud, and fun in a way that only Lego can be. Dead Reset is releasing on the 30th of September for PS5 in Europe. In this interactive horror experience, you step into the shoes of Cole Mason, a surgeon ensnared in a relentless death loop within an underwater facility. Each death offers a new perspective, unraveling a tale of parasitic horror and moral dilemmas. With cinematic scares, practical effects, and multiple choices, where your decisions lead to one of 4 possible endings, they will test your morality. Developed by Dark Rift Horror and published by Wales Interactive, Dead Reset continues the studio's tradition of interactive FMV horror games. Wales Interactive has previously delivered titles like The Bunker, The Shape-Shifting Detective, and I Saw Black Clouds, each known for their immersive, if not a little unintentionally amusing storytelling. With Dead Reset, they aim to further solidify their reputation in the genre. TMNT Splintered Fate is releasing on the 30th of September for Xbox, PS4, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. In this roguelike brawler, the turtles embark on a quest to rescue Splinter, and you can choose from all 4 of the turtles, each with their unique abilities, emphasizing cooperative gameplay, supporting up to 4 people locally or online. As players progress, they can upgrade their characters with randomized power-ups, enhancing replayability and strategic depth. It also means they don't need to program too much. I think that's one that's perfect for those who love the franchise, and middling for those who don't care about the turtles. Okay, here are a bunch of games that were supposed to release before, but got delayed to this month. Don't know what's gone on with my voice. I've been speaking for like 50 minutes right now, okay? I'm getting lightheaded. We are not done yet though. Oh no, we're just heading into the limited, low print, limited run, limited releases. Shantae Advance, Risky Revolution. I need a beer. Pre-orders end on the 7th of September for Xbox, PS4, PS5 and Switch. Originally developed and intended to follow the 2002 Game Boy Color original, but due to the first game's modest sales and the inability to secure a publisher, the project was shelved, leaving fans to wonder what could have been. In recent years, WayForward announced the revival of this project, and with the help of limited run games, the game was released physically on Game Boy Advance cartridges and digital releases, but now physical on modern platforms. It's here. Set between the original and Risky's Revenge, the game follows Shantae as she confronts Risky Boots, solving puzzles and navigating through dynamically altered landscapes. The game retains the series' signature hair whip combat and belly dance transformations, introducing new forms like a mermaid and a crab. The revival of Risky Revolution not only offers a glimpse into what could have been, but also enriches the Shantae lore, providing fans with a long-awaited chapter in the series. Whether you're a long-time supporter or a newcomer, this title presents a blend of nostalgia and innovation, showcasing the enduring appeal of the half-genie hero. And my executive producers, Nerdy Sean and Cartoon Soren, have chosen this as their pick of the month. System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster. Pre-orders end on the 21st of September for PS5 and Switch. Originally released in 1999, System Shock 2 is often cited as one of the most influential sci-fi RPGs ever, laying the groundwork for immersive sims and narrative-driven shooters that followed. This 25th anniversary remaster brings a classic aboard a modern ship, updating visuals and interface while keeping the tense gameplay intact. Maybe this is a chance for newcomers to experience the rogue AI, shipboard intrigue, and branching systems, and for veterans to revisit one of gaming's quiet masterpieces without losing what made it special. I can see this being very popular with LRG's age demographic. He's saying you're old. Tim's saying you're old, guys. High on Life 2. Pre-orders end on the 21st of September for Xbox and PlayStation 5. Justin Roiland, is it Roland or Roiland? I don't know, I don't care. Returns with more talking guns and chaotic worlds. The first game was a chaotic mess that somehow worked, and this sequel looks set to keep that tradition alive. Feels very Reddit humor to me. I don't know what that means, but there is a huge audience for that, so this one will probably please many. Scott Pilgrim EX. Pre-orders end on the 21st of September for Xbox, PS5 and Switch. Developed by Tribute Games, the creators of TMNT Shredder's Revenge, this upcoming title is set to launch in 2026, featuring an original story written by Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, and takes place after the events of the Takes Off anime series. Players can expect to explore a large interconnected world, reminiscent of classic beat-em-ups, with up to 4 players local and online co-op. With a vibrant 2D pixel art style and soundtrack by somebody with a very long name, Scott Pilgrim EX aims to capture the chaotic charm of the original games while introducing new enemies to keep things fresh. Bubsy in the Perfect Collection. Pre-orders end on the 12th of October for PS5 and Switch, a collection that leans heavily into nostalgia for all the wrong reasons. Bubsy returns with his signature mix of questionable design and baffling physics. LRG seem fully aware that these games are awful, which somehow adds to the charm? No, it adds to the cash they want to make, Tim. This is the sort of ignorant, teeth-gritting platforming that makes you both laugh and wince and cry and just, make sure the windows are locked, okay? Because, this could be one for collectors or masochists or anyone curious about how bad 90s mascot mania did truly get. Alright, we're jumping into the import section. If you want to import any of these games in this section, you can do so via PlayAsia and get 5% off with my code Jordan2025. Castlevania Dominus Collection is releasing on the 18th of September for PS5 and Switch in Japan and Asia. Konami's perfect DS-era Castlevanias in one single bundle, hell yes! The Dominus Collection is an absolutely perfect collection, presenting the games with high quality of life updates and clever touchscreen adaptive controls, while still preserving the fantastic flow that defined the originals. There's not much new to say, these games are amazing and widely available thanks to the limited run versions. They printed like 1 billion copies of it. But these super deluxe editions are incredibly beautiful, perhaps even more beautiful than limited runs. Definitely worth importing if you don't have them already. Tiger Blade is releasing on the 18th of September for PlayStation 5, PSVR 2 in Asia. This is a VR action title that throws you straight into high-speed sword combat with aerial acrobatics and hack-and-slash mechanics. The focus is on fast, fluid battles rather than a deep narrative, which makes sense for a PSVR 2 title with motion controls. Good for those who fancy flailing a sword on your sofa. I am done, Tim. But it's not really done, because here are a bunch of Japanese releases that are releasing this month, but the West already got. And here are some Japanese releases that the West does not have, but you don't want to import them because they don't have English. And I am done. I'm done so much. Thank you, Tim, for writing this. It's gonna be a beast. And I should thank you. Like, if you've watched all of this, you absolute madman. You must love the PlayStation 5. If you watched all the way through, please leave me a fist bump emoji, because we both need some respect for just Tim, respect for writing this, my respect for surviving voicing this, and respect for you for surviving the length of it and listening to it for some reason. If you want to purchase any of the video games in this video, I'll try and link them all, but I don't think I can because there's not enough space in the description. I'll do what I can, but it very much helps support me and this channel and supports Tim to keep making these PlayStation 5 videos for you. And of course, special thanks to my executive producers. Here they all are. They're on the screen right now. Thank you so much. Usually I give a shout out, but I'm going to bed. Take care.